So, time for tutorial video number 2. What are parallelograms? Parallelograms are shapes with 4 sides, okay? And they have 2 pairs of parallel lines. So, for example, our lovely rectangle here is a parallelogram because these 2 lines are parallel and these 2 lines are parallel. Now, rectangles are a very special kind of parallelogram because they have the perpendicular lines on the corners, okay? They have this 90-degree angle. And that makes the area of a rectangle really easy to calculate. You all learned how to calculate the area of a rectangle in grade 6. And hopefully you remember the formula for area of a rectangle from last year. Say it out loud to yourself in your head now or shout it at your computer screen. I'm going to write it down. The area of a rectangle is the length of the rectangle times the width of the rectangle. So in this case, since the length of our rectangle is 10 squares, remember we counted that in the last tutorial, and the width is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares, we can plug our numbers into this formula and find out what the area is. Work it out on your own and pause this for a second, then let me catch up to you. Okay, so when you do this, each of these has a name for its step, okay? This first step is called writing down the formula. And I'm going to be asking you to do this every single time you ask a question about area. Start with your formula, okay? Your second step is called substitution. This means that you put your numbers in that represent the letters. So the length is 10 and the width is 6. Last of all, we find the answer, we write that down, and we include appropriate units. Some of you are probably looking at that centimeter squared and thinking, Miss Dahlke, this feels a little fishy. I know that the squares on that rectangle aren't centimeters, and you're right, okay? However, a lot of the time in math class, we will give you a problem that involves grid paper, and we will just assume that the grid paper is centimeter grid paper, in which case, it's okay to write this down. If it bothers you a lot, there is another thing you could write instead. And it looks like this. This is 60 square units. Make sure you still include that little 2. This is what indicates that this is area and not length or width. We're not talking about a line here. We're talking about the surface area of this shape. Okay? So far, we're still reviewing grade 6. So it's time for the new stuff. Not all parallelograms have nice, neat 90-degree angles on the sides. So I'm going to do something a little bit dramatic to our rectangle here. Are you ready? We are going to slice and dice. Then I'm going to take the pieces back together. One moment. Here we go. Okay. And now we have a parallelogram still because this side is parallel to this side and this side is parallel to this side. But it's not a rectangle anymore. So our old formula where we talk about length and width no longer works. See how this side here, it's going to be longer than the original side was on our rectangle. So how do we solve this area problem? Well, we make sure that we measure the height of our shape now perpendicular to the base. We make sure that we measure this at a 90-degree angle. In this case, it's pretty convenient because I still have those old bolded lines left over from my rectangle at a 90-degree angle to tell me what the height is. Usually, you will have a drawing that tells you this is this long, and it'll have that little square in the corner to show you that it's perpendicular to the base. Okay, so in this case, I have not changed the area of this shape at all, right? It's still the same piece of paper. All I did was cut it in half and then tape it back together. It's going to have the same area, okay? Exactly the same area. It will be 60 units. And here's the interesting part. We're no longer going to talk about length and width because width doesn't work. Instead, we're going to talk about the base of the shape and the height of the shape. So our new formula is area equals base times height. The substitution step will look exactly the same. Area equals 10 times 6. And of course, our answer is the same as well. Area equals 60 units squared. That's the basic how-to of how to calculate the area of a parallelogram. Take a shot at the practice problems that you've been given. I will be back with another tutorial explaining how to solve the formula to find out what the height or base of something is if you've been given the area and the other measurement. Back for more next time.